People, this is Sion. Most of you guys know me as you know me as what you know me as. All right, so let's do this. Let's do this talk. Let's do this little quick little chat. Yeah, for some people, yeah, man, I cut my hair or whatever. So it's not a different person. It's the same person. So let's talk about some issues that I've been experiencing recently. I always experience these things every time I play a new class or a class people assume that I'm new to, right? They always, they give their 2 cents, and it's fine. So now I'm playing BGs, and that's mainly because it's just very laggy and serial when I jump on. For the most part, I'm not even playing BGs. I'm usually just playing an open world, Vivid. A lot of people say, like, what campaign do you play in? I play in Vivid. I like to play in the main campaign. I believe Vivid is the main campaign. I don't like Shore. I don't like South Facil or whatever it's called. I just don't like those campaigns because I believe that's where you find, in Vivid, I think that's where you find the best competition or what have you. It's crazy, right? I believe that's where you find the best competition. That's me personally. You don't have to follow anything that I say, but that's why I play. I play in Vivid. So when I do post BG matches, it's gotten laggy, and I just decide, hey, let me go play some BGs. Less lag compared to, comparatively speaking. Vivid is very laggy. BG's is not as laggy as Vivid. Not saying it isn't laggy, but it's not as laggy as Vivid. Right? I know some of you might say, well, play in other campaigns. Yeah, that's the problem I run into, where I want to play against competent players, and but then I don't want to play in a campaign that doesn't have those players, and then I have to now decide, do I deal with lag or do I play competent players? I choose Vivid. So that should give you an answer. So when I do go in BGs, I always do well. I'm always the number one player. And this has always been the case. Every time I play BGs, it's always been the case. And I've always said this, and I've played BGs with countless characters. I used to stream a lot with my Magic Templar in BGs. I used to do it all the time. Now I'm playing on a Sork, and most of you know I'm not new to Sork. I've been playing Sorks. I'm new to Sork compared to like other players who played Sork exclusively. Just that's all they play, right? No knock to them. Hey, I'm just bored. I always get tired of shit. That's just my nature. The only thing I have not gotten tired of is vagina. Right? So let's continue. So I'm playing BGs, and players are like, oh, you're playing against low Bs. Right? Low Bs. Low Bs. Low Bs. Right? And this is not look, this happens to me all the time. Any class I play, and I always show reality, right? I show my trials and tribulations. Any class that I play, you always get these people who just say things that they would not say on other content creators' channels. They just seem to they gravitate towards my channel to say these things, and it's fine, yo. I can give two shits, man. It doesn't really matter to me. But I just like to point out like certain things that just blatantly not true, or they're just very hypocritical. One, there used to be this whole statement prior to Morrowind. Oh, no CPs is where the skill is at. That bridges the gap, right? A lot of people hide behind CP. People say that all the time. They hide behind CP, right? So you go into CP, you go into no CP. To me, there's no such thing as a low B anymore, because you guys are all at an equal stage in terms of CP. You have 0 CP, right? And my setup, I'm using shackle, seducer, nothing that no one else can get. Anyone can get those sets. It's very simple to get them. They're crafted sets. Shadow Rend would be the only set that's difficult to get, but I don't even, that set doesn't proc for me. It just has terrible uptime, so I'm not even benefiting from that set. The only thing I'm benefiting from is the recovery, the magical recovery. I'm thinking about just changing the set out altogether, so I don't benefit from that set, right? So in BGs, it's no CP. It's TDM. We're not playing an objective. The only objective there is to kill. So I'm killing players. To me, I don't see them as I don't see them as low Bs, because we all have the same CP, which is 0 CP. That's what we have. The only thing I have the only thing I have work in my favor is experience, how to kite, being outnumbered. That's what I have, right? And then some players that say, well, you haven't run into a pre-made team. Prior to this patch, players were complaining about that they were running into these pre-made teams, and so ZeniMax Online Studio made it so they changed the algorithm, right? That's what they said they did. Is it 100%? I don't know. They changed it, and so if you're a solo player, you're more likely, if you are entering BGs as a solo player, you're more likely to be team grouped up or go against other players who are coming into BGs as solo players. Great, it's amazing. I get to go solo like I always do, and I just get to do what I need to do. And to me, this shows the fact that, to me at least, no CP is very, very easy, regardless of the class I play. I play multiple classes. I know how resource management works, and I can tell you guys right now, CP, especially when you're playing against these players and they don't know what's going on, means nothing, right? It means nothing. At my level, right? At different levels, it might mean a lot. But to a player such as myself or players similar to me, it doesn't matter if they're in CP or in no CP. They will still dominate you, and you don't understand why it is that they're doing it. They're doing it because, 1, they know the class, 2, they know counters, 3, they just have more experience than you, and 4, they're very patient. They know when to be aggressive, when to be defensive, when to be offensive, when to be passive. And a lot of players just don't understand that. They think you grab a set, you see a build, you play the build, and therefore it will kind of equate into you being successful. And that's not the case. That's why I've always made my content like real, right? I show you guys the trials and tribulations, the ins and the outs. I show you guys all of that so you understand when you see a clip, and I do this consistently, right? When you see a clip of a player that just shows you some shit today, and then 2 weeks from now they show you another clip, that's not representative of what really happens in Cyrodiil, what really happens in PvP. When, for every, let's say I'm fighting players, 10 times, and out of those 10 times, I might succeed only 3. 30% of the time I'm successful, the other 70% I'm not. And that's what you see. You see the success, you don't see that 70%. And a lot of players need to understand that shit, because you think if you use a build or you copy this, it becomes like you're instantly going to be that player. The smarter players, the more the players who are hungry to be better, what they do is they look at the content. Oh, that person used this skill in this particular setting. This person went offensive here. This person went defensive here. They're looking at the play style. That's what they're looking at. They're not really looking at sets. They're looking at play style. They're looking at, like, what did this person do in this particular setting or this particular situation. That's what makes you better, right? You look at what a person is doing, and you tailor it towards your play style, right? You see how that works, and that's great. Like for example, you rarely see me use Necro because Necro just doesn't suit my playstyle, right? I'm in outnumbered fights. I am always in outnumbered fights. A lot of players who use Necro, they're in this like one and done kind of situation, and they move on to another person one and done. I'm in it to be in outnumbered fights, right? And there's nothing against players using Necro, Necropotency, Necropotence. That's what, right? I forget. Um, so I'm always outnumbered. So I want to be able to sustain, have enough damage, have enough mitigation in terms of just being able to heal, like all those things. But when you see a lot of these players with these max stats, especially for Magic and that, like max stats is the most important thing to them. And you see them, they're just blowing players up. But when you're outnumbered, those are things that are rare, right? You have to understand. I'm outnumbered 99.9% of the time, and that's what I build for, right? I don't build to just burst players instantly. I kill players with combos, not just magic, but also stamina, and that's what I think a lot of players need to understand. They talk about surface things. They never really delve deeper, and therein lies the problem. Because like you have some players who talk about counterplay, right? I posted a video where this guy was he was going into stealth. He was cloaking over and over and over again. Now you'll hear some players say, well, just use a potion. You'll get him out of stealth. You use a reveal potion. And my response to them is, like, to me, counterplay should be equivalent exchange. I'm using something that's equally costly as this person is using. This person is using cloak that costs what? I don't know, depending on if they're Magicka, like 3,800. If they're Magicka, racial class. Let's say they're Breton or they're high elf or what have you, which gives them 10% increase or 4% reduction, whatever. Let's say they're using that, and I'm using a potion that has a 45-second cooldown. That's not an equal exchange. A potion, reveal potion is the only potion that affects everything else. Normal potions affect you where it benefits you. Now I'm using something that's supposed to benefit me, benefiting on someone else. And it's a 45-second cooldown. And potions should be used strategically when you're in, your health is going low, you need resources. That's what I see potions as. Now I'm going to use a potion to get someone out of stealth when they can easily. It doesn't cost them anything, and their stamina, right? You don't see a majority of Magic Nightblades cloaking, right? They use shade. You don't see them using that. Also, so to me, you need equivalent exchange. It has to be equivalent. The cost you're using and the benefit that you're getting. It's the same thing of players saying, well, there's a cleanse. There is a cleanse. It's costly. And even when you use efficient cleanse, it's very costly. It's like 7,000, Magicka. It just costs too much. Counterplay should be equivalent exchange. So, if you're using Dizzy Swing and I'm using Shuffle, those two are closely in terms of cost, and they're both stam. That's a counter. Shuffle is countering to me, that's a counter. It's countering your damage, and Dizzy Swing is offensive. It CCs you, and it does damage. Like, to me, those are things that you would consider a counter, or a DK using an area of effect ability on you and your Nightblade going into cloak. Those two things are similar in terms of cost. That's counterplay. I don't think I should go out of my way. For example, a lot of players are saying, which I don't think they know any better. You got a lot of players who were saying, well, just use use the I forget what it's called. It gives you crit and 3% damage. use the Fighter's Guild passive, skill. It brings them out of cloak, out of stuff. I know that. It costs 4K. Stam. Like, why am I using 4K Stam? I'm a Stam player. Another Stam player like a Nightblade is using a Magicka dump. I'm using a 4K Stam, which goes into my main resource, compared to this player, which is not his main resource, and it's a dump. Right? If you're a Stam player and using Magicka, it's a dump. Anything that benefits you that doesn't have a cost, to me, it's a dump. So when you hear players say, well, you should use, this is counterplay, I don't think so. The same way, I don't think wings, when you use pop wings to counter meteor, that's not counter. Because the cost for that ultimate is crazy. It's 200 cost ultimate. It takes time to generate that, and you just use wings to just negate it. Or in the past, dots used to be just completely purged by Nightblade's cloak. A DK just worked that entire time to just hit 4 or 5 dots in you, and all of a sudden now you use one ability and it's gone. I don't think that's counterplay. So when you hear these players talk about there's no counterplay, it has to be, to me, equivalent exchange. It has to be equivalent exchange, and you have to take those things into consideration. But that's my thing. Like when you see these players talk about all these things and how hey, you're playing against lobies and BGs. They're not lobies to me. You're counting lobies in terms of their CP, but there's no CP in BGs. Now, if you're saying they're lobies because they're inexperienced, then you can't now apply the concept to CP. Well, that person has more CP than me, so that's why they're winning. No, they have more experience than you. And maybe that's the reason why they're using their skills a little bit more efficiently. They're setting up combos. They know your weaknesses. They know the strength of a class. And these are players at high levels. The majority of players you run into who might have more CP than another player and they're like not skilled or they're not experienced, of course the player with more CP will undoubtedly win, right? For the most part. But if you have players who are equally skilled and they have the same CP, I don't think CP really matters. And it's the same thing if you go, experience is what matters. So now if you go into CP where you go into no CP where everything is equal, experience plays out. And that completely negates this whole concept of, players are being carried by CP. Because when all things are equal, ultimately skill prevails. That's just my personal opinion. Anyway, commentaries are coming, man. I've just been lazy, so that's why you see me just putting music to these videos. Anyway, I'm out.